This video is presented by Sailrite.
Hi, I'm Matt Grant with Sailrite. I want to talk to you about a brand new feature that we have at Sailrite for the Sailrite Ultrafeed sewing machines. You can either purchase this feature as an option with your new sewing machine, or if you've got any of our past models, this feature will work on any of those machines as well. The feature is called the reverse stop and lock knob mechanism. And basically, it attaches to this region of the sewing machine. And we have a separate video that shows you how to install this mechanism on your machine, and it's really quite simple to do. So I'm not going to talk about installation, but let's talk about what we're looking at here and what this portion of the machine does. This lever that moves vertically controls the stitch length. All the way to the top is full forward, all the way to the bottom is full reverse. Our prior or standard model would not have a screw installed here in the end of this knob. So essentially all you would have, I'm going to show you the problem, is a knob like this. This is standard. Problem with this is that when you set your stitch length, say I don't want to go maximum stitch length, but I want to go somewhere around 3/4 stitch length. Now I go to reverse. If I grab this lever and if I inadvertently twist it or let it twist out of position when I'm moving it down, now when I come back up, obviously I've lost my position. I'm no longer at 3/4, I'm at full stitch length. And that's not going to work for some projects where you want to be very consistent with your stitch length. So what we've done in order to keep this knob from spinning like this is we've put a special insert in it that's threaded, and then get a special thumb screw here. And now, let's say we go back to setting to our 3/4. There we are. Now I can lock this outer knob tight, and it will restrict the movement of the inner knob. So when I go back up to my full stitch length, I'm at my 3/4 that I intended to be at, instead of having it move on me as I move the lever around. Now that's the lock knob portion of the mechanism. The reverse stop is this mechanism, and it's also very simple. Basically you have a thumb screw and you have a guide you can move up and down, and this is going to make it possible to always make sure that when you push the lever down into reverse that you hit the same spot in reverse, so you get a very consistent stitch length in reverse. So it's quite a simple feature, but it's a great feature to have on your Ultrafeed sewing machine if you need the utmost in precise settings of your stitch length in forward and reverse. And let me show you how it works. So we're going to leave it at this roughly 3/4, which is going to be a fairly short stitch. Actually, that's a little shorter than 3/4. That's probably a 3 millimeter stitch length or so. And so you can see I've got a fairly short stitch there. Now I'm going to try and set to get roughly the same stitch length in reverse. So I do this by eye. I'm going to move my lever down. There's my bottom. And you can see I have roughly the same stitch length in forward and reverse. Now the beauty of this is I've got everything locked right now. So when I come back to forward, same stitch length. When I go to reverse, same stitch length forward, same stitch length, reverse, same stitch length. Well, you get the idea. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what makes this feature so useful. The other thing that you can do with this is, if you don't like the standard setting where we make the lever have some friction or resistance to it, so when you push it into a spot it stays there, I'm actually going to show you how to eliminate that friction here in a second, and that would allow this lever, when you push it down, you'd have to hold it in place against the stop, and then when you let go it'll spring back up naturally, which allows for very fast, quick forward and reverse changes. Some people prefer to sew that way instead of having the lever stay in position when you move it. So we'll show you that next. But the lock knob and the reverse stop mechanism, it's sold as a set from Sailrite as an add-on component for your machine. Fantastic feature, something you should definitely consider buying today. To get rid of the friction resistance on the stitch length lever, we need to remove the top cover. We need to remove the flywheel. And now, I usually use the posi pin, or if you've got an old clutch mechanism unit, you can just thread the knob back on to move it, the old friction clutch. And what we want to do is we need to look in from the end of the machine. There's a flathead slotted bolt that, let me see if I can see it with Eric looking there, that you got, there it is. Can you see it peeking out now? Once we rotate the bushing, we should be able to locate the pivot point, which is a flat-headed bolt with a slot for a standard screwdriver, and we would release that. But before we do that, we need to get in from the top, and we need to find the locking screw that holds the position of that bolt. Okay, after moving our lights around a little bit, hopefully you can see it. This is the locking screw, and I'm coming in from a different direction. You can see my screwdriver point. And that locks the bolt that we just located from the butt end of the machine. So what we have to do is we have to loosen that screw in order to allow it, make it possible for us to loosen the bolt to create some play in this mechanism and to release the friction from the washers that are wavy washers under the bolt so that the lever will spring up automatically. So I'm going to go ahead and get in here and loosen this. Okay, so I'm just going to loosen it a half turn. Now that takes the resistance off the bolt. Now instead of trying to see where I'm loosening, Eric, just show the screwdriver here. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this bolt by about, I have to hold the lever as I do it, about half a turn or so. Just enough to cause the lever to feel like it has spring resistance. So now at this point when I push the lever down, lever wants to jump back up. Now before I'm done, I have to come back up to that locking screw and we have to relock that onto the bolt. This locks right onto the threads of the bolt. It's a pretty simple mechanism. Okay, once that's locked, now the bolt's secure. Now when I move this lever, it'll just spring right back up. So the net effect of that is, we don't need to put the top cover back on the machine, but I'll put the flywheel on so you can see how it operates. The net effect of this, and actually this is probably the way I prefer to run the machines. As a matter of fact, if you buy this mechanism that we're talking about here, I probably would suggest that you make this change. I think it makes it a lot easier to operate the machine, so long as you're using reverse as a lock stitch only. Because what you can do then is you can be sewing along. When you get to the end of your stitch, you just reverse, let up, and then you come back to forward immediately. So you're not physically forcing the lever back and forth. So you can see if I'm doing a run here, how easy it is to do lock stitches. It really, for lock stitches, makes good sense. Now, if you intend to run the machine in reverse frequently, and I'm doing all short stitches, let's move our setting on this just so you can see too that you still have your ability to do your long normal stitch throw. Okay. So now if I'm doing normal canvas work, and again I'm using it as a lock, just back and let go of it and it swings right back up. But let's say I wanted to sew in reverse. If I actually want to sew in reverse, now I've got to hold the lever down and I have to hold it down the whole time I'm sewing. So that's the only drawback to having that spring like that, is that you lose a hand if you're trying to sew in reverse. If you're using it for back stitching, it's really very handy. Nice way to set the mechanism. I would not suggest doing this, making that adjustment, unless you have this mechanism. Because if you don't have this mechanism, then you're going to find that you're losing your stitch length and reverse setting too frequently because you're turning the knob without having the locking features. So, but now that we have this component, it's worthwhile showing you can make that change. So there you have it. Now you know why you want the reverse stop and the lock knob for your Sailrite Ultrafeed sewing machine. Feel free to contact Sailrite with any questions that you have on how best to make use of this fantastic feature for any and all Ultrafeed sewing machines.